Now, please, I may welcome the man that CEO founder of Spark almost 25 years ago, and who has been working tirelessly since then to develop higher education and entrepreneurship. A little bit nervous, that's why I can't read that word. Entrepreneurship opportunities for youth and fragile and conflict affected states around the world. Director of Spark, Mr. Yannik DuPont. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, first of all, it's very inspiring. It's actually very inspiring to see a leading student leading the conference today. Don't worry about the entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship.
I think entrepreneurship, it's a very difficult word. But I think it's actually a quite important point, I think, that we need to move to the future of the programming, and that will be the topic of my contribution in a moment. What is the next step? Next step of empowerment of students and national partners. But let me first thank, of course, the American University of Beirut again. I think 2 years ago, or 1 and a half year ago, we had Stefan Derkon here from DFID, the chief economist, doing a session on bridging the gap between higher education and creating employment, and the opportunity of Syrian business actually to contribute to the economy. He did extensive research with Paul Collier, the director of the World Bank, on the economic benefit also of Syrian business. And when I heard that at the time, I had to think actually about Turkey, where I think the government has been extremely enabling in seeing the Syrian business as an opportunity also, and hosting them, letting them grow, and creating jobs for both Syrians, but also for the host community. And so anyway, that was a flashback I had when I walked in, and thanks to the American University of Beirut again. Thanks, of course, to all our partners who are here at the conference. It's a very working conference, so we're all going to work here today. Some of you will stay tomorrow. Some will stay until even Thursday to flesh out the plans for the coming year. And we have partners here from Lebanon, the Kurdish region in Iraq, Turkey, Jordan, and actually also some folks from Syria that came in to discuss how to get the program better. Maybe just a few quick facts on the program before I forget that. I think there's some in the brochure, but I think by this year we're going to hit about 7,500 students that will have gone through a scholarship or will be going into one from September, most of them. Most of it is 1 to 2 year higher vocational education or 3 to 4 year bachelor education. And they're all targeted at subjects that are directly relevant to the reconstruction of Syria, particularly economic reconstruction. And this was something that we discussed closely with the various donors, that they want to start contributing to economic opportunity and to reconstruction. They don't only get scholarships, but also a quite broad package, also with big support from Al Fakhura, from Education Above All in Doha, support in terms of academic counseling, leadership, civic leadership, entrepreneurship training. So just don't support them only with a scholarship, but make some kind of support network around them and to enable them. Now, the biggest support of the program, it was mentioned, is EU Madad, and thanks here and welcome to Narim Kakutli, the fund manager, and a big team I saw here present. Some more people coming this afternoon when Commissioner Hahn will be here. But also thanks to the Dutch, who have enabled the program from the beginning and helped get it off the ground. Al Fakhura, I already mentioned. Farouk Berni is here with us today, the CEO of Al Fakhura Education Above All from Doha, big supporter. And it's also very nice to announce, actually the first time we can now announce this, but in the coming weeks, the Islamic Development Bank, now I have to look at my paper to pronounce this one right. And we have a group from the Abdullah Al Nouri Society in Kuwait. They will also join the efforts and try to create particularly more opportunity in terms of economic development after. So we're starting to build the bridge to the employment and build the bridge to the entrepreneurship. And for me, that's a very important point also that symbolizes this conference. When we have support from EU and we have support from Islamic Development Bank, we have support from the Dutch government, we have support from Kuwait and from Qatar. I think it's not just about enabling more scholarships and doing more for Syrians, but actually by getting the expertise and the networks and the understanding from both worlds into one program, we're creating, I think, a very important partnership that can demonstrate how we can tackle problems together and create solutions together. Anyway, before I start dwelling on the present, just to look at the future briefly, I think for us there are two main things also during the conference that are really important to look at. We are now 2 years into this program, and we see that there is a big step to be made to enter the new era of national and student ownership. So let students run the things. I think we're seeing now across the scholarship programs that students' clubs are being formed, student movements are starting to rise that work closely with the universities and help universities to better integrate the students in university life. So I think that's something that we need to foster, and I think I'm really impressed how the students are actually active and proactive. And the second part, I think we need to plan even better empowering of domestic national institutions and better empowering of existing initiatives. And I'm saying that because after 24 years in this kind of work, I always see when a crisis erupts, people rush in, and we have to be very careful not to build in parallel structures. So I think for us, it's really important that we start looking now at how to better support domestic effort. And one example I want to give here is actually our own history in this whole region. Started in Turkey. It started actually in Gaziantep 4 or 5 years ago when we received funding to support Syrian scholarships. And before we started, we looked who is working already, and we found that the University of Gaziantep had a very good program. So we didn't start our own program. We went to the rector and we said, can we support your program? Can we build on what you are doing? And when I look today, and I'm very happy we have here the YUK today, because the program has been growing. There is now multiple universities across Turkey. Last year in Hatay, when the YUK organized an amazing conference on the Turkish response on the Syrian higher education crisis, we signed an MOU to make sure that the YUK can coordinate this program now for Turkey, because we're going to have thousands of students in Turkey. And I think this is very important to channel this support this way, to build sustainable solutions. Another example, just to mention, in the Kurdish region of Iraq, there was a number of private universities that approached us and said, look, normally our tuitions are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, but because we were even refugees ourselves, we will now give 5 or 10 scholarships pro bono or against very low cost. And we've seen this also happening in Jordan, where we work with the Jordanian Chamber of Industry, that they really contribute themselves if you treat it like a partnership, and if you don't treat it just like a project coming from outside. So in the future, I think for Spark, this is what we're going to do very, very diligently, see what exists, build up those structures, and empower this. I think that's one big thing to also reflect during the conference on how can we all do this better. Now then the most important point for me today is indeed this bridge. We have these 7,500 students, and more of them, I hear from our offices, are starting to call and getting nervous. So I'm graduating next year, I'm graduating in 2 years, I'm graduating next month. Some of them have been graduating. What am I going to do? And they're doing this in an environment, and I think that also deserves to be said, with extremely high youth unemployment in the countries in the region. So it's not an easy solution to just enable the local labor market, because there's a lot of unemployed Lebanese, a lot of unemployed Jordanian, a lot of employed. So I think we need to have a very good open discussion about this. How can we get international support to support local solutions that create jobs for both Syrian, but also for the local community? And I think in our programming we need to think about this kind of more intelligent design of, for example, Berrytech. I know that program. We have an office in that building, and when you see Syrian and Lebanese entrepreneurs working together on ideas, I think you can get this feeling of win-win, that they can create value together. Maybe just to give two examples that really inspired me. One was in Jordan. I think I already touched on it. It was the Jordanian Chamber of Industry. They represent the big companies in Jordan, and they had a traineeship program, internship program for Jordanian youth at the end of their studies to go to do 3-6 months of practical work at a company, of the member companies. And they are now open. They have opened it up in the last half year to 500 new intake, of which 40%, 50% Syrian. It's the first time they included Syrians. And up till now, and it's only running 6 months, of the first half that went through, I heard that about 25-30% got a job offer after their traineeship because they were very valuable. I heard, talking to some companies in the region, that they're actually scouting now for Syrians because they're saying, as the director of the center here pointed out, I think so eloquently, companies are thinking, hey, reconstruction of Syria will start, so we better have the expertise in-house to work together with the Syrians on the reconstruction effort. Also in Turkey, if I just stay on that issue of the bridge to employment and entrepreneurship, I was really impressed with the chambers of commerce in Gaziantep, Mersin, that are having desks for Syrians. I think Gaziantep Chamber is now introducing a chairperson Syrian on their board. You know, integrating the community, and then also working with the companies to create jobs for both communities. One group, and then I come back to, for example, the example of why not give the Syrian community much more direct role in a partnership in implementing, designing, programming. They work very closely in Gaziantep with the SIAD. It's a group of Syrian businesses. They represent 315 Syrian companies in that region that create jobs every day. Some of them are large, 50, 100 employees. It's not just the small corner shops. Some of them moved their business from Syria to Turkey. And so the chambers are working with the Syrian community and empowering them to create more jobs for both the Turkish community and the Syrian community. And that's the kind of partners that we as Spark will be working with. And I think when it was said at the beginning, Spark is doing, well, actually Spark is doing nothing. Let me be very clear. I'm doing nothing. We are empowering these local structures like SIAD, Chamber of Commerce, YÖK, universities in Lebanon. I think our role is to empower these institutions to absorb more students and to also help deal with these issues like getting understanding that also the local community should be supported. I think that is our role, and that's what the role we're going to keep playing. Maybe just one thing that I'll be having on my mind all day today is, so how are we going to get the 7,500 Syrians involved in reconstructing Syria, or find a job, or start a company? So that will be my guiding own thought during the workshops. So I hope you're enjoying it and have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you for your strong speech and the important points that you mentioned, Yannik. I hope this morning's speakers have you energized and ready to discuss these key topics during the breakfast sessions, which start at 10:45. Please take a look at the program booklets and choose a morning session that you would like to attend, and make your way there at 10:45. Now we will take a coffee break for around 35 minutes, so please all proceed to the break room for some light refreshments. Thank you.